In this video we're gonna set the flip of the character and the player run animation. Okay, so without furthering delay, let's dive into this topic. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a bool parameter. Okay, bool variable. It will be true or false. Okay, we're gonna call this something like facing right, and we're gonna set it to true. As you can see, we are facing right. Okay, whenever we press the A key, we will flip the character to the left side. Then we're gonna set facing right bool parameter to false. Okay, so we need to keep track of which direction we are looking and what key we are pressing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna open up the player script. Okay, so double click it to open up in Visual Studio. Okay, double click it. So we're gonna make it public to see in inspector. You don't need to make that public. For explanation, I am making public. So I'm gonna make it public. So the type of that variable will be bool. Okay, which will be true or false. We're gonna say something like facing right. Okay, facing right. By default we are going to set it to true because we are facing to the right direction. Control S on your keyboard and head again to Unity. You will able to see an in the player movement script, underneath movement we will able to see the parameter bool parameter, which will be checked, and we call it facing right. Okay, we have to also name the variable. The type of that variable is bool, which will keep track of which direction we are looking. Okay, by default it will be selected checked because we set it facing right to true, and whenever we unchecked it will be false. Okay, so wait for to compile and you will able to see. Just wait for to compile. And as you can see over here, facing right in the player movement script, as you can see facing right, by default it's checked, means true. What we're gonna do, we're gonna go to update function because we need to keep track of which direction we are looking. So we need to keep track of that. So that's why we are doing it update function, and update function get call every single frame. So we need to check every single frame. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna check. Okay, if movement, okay, if movement is lesser than 0 f or 0. Okay, if we press the A key, so over here as you can see input dot get axis horizontal, this checks what you pressing. Okay, if you pressing A key, so this will be -1, so the movement over here will be -1. But if you press the D key, input dot get axis horizontal will be 1, so the movement over here will be 1. If you press nothing like that, the input dot get axis will be 0, so the movement over here will be 0. So what we are doing, if we press the A key, so the movement becomes -1. Okay, this becomes -1, so the movement over here will be -1, which is we know is lesser than 0f. Okay, this is if condition. Okay, this is if condition. Whatever you put in this brackets, first bracket parenthesis, okay, the condition should be true, like 3 is greater than 1. If that condition is true, in between these curly brackets whatever you write it will execute. So what we're gonna do, firstly we're gonna check if we pressing the A key, so the movement, as you know, it will be lesser than 0f. As we can see, we are checking if the movement is lesser than 0, and we are just looking in facing right, and we are facing right. Okay, so firstly what we are doing, if we are pressing the space A key, so the movement over here will be -1, which is lesser than 0f, as we know, and we are just looking in the right direction. Okay, we are looking in the right direction. So what we're gonna do, firstly we're gonna rotate this character. If we go to transform of this game object, okay, and we go to rotation in the y-axis, we're gonna set it to 180. As you can see, when we set it to 180, it just rotate itself in the left direction. So what we're gonna do, by default we're gonna set it to 0. So what we need to do, we need to go over to transform. Okay, so what we need to do, go over to transform dot Euler angles. Okay, Euler angles, and we're gonna set new vector 3. As we know, vector 3 has three axes: x axis, y axis, and the z axis. So we're gonna do it y axis. As we know, we're gonna set it to 180 in the y axis, so it will flip the character to the left side. So what we're gonna put, we're gonna put minus 180f. Okay, we're not gonna flip in the x axis or this z axis, so we're gonna put it 0 0. And what we're gonna do, when we are faced toward left, so we will set the facing right to false, because we are facing left in that case. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set this facing right, okay, facing right equal to false. We're gonna set it to false, and control as on your keyboard, head back to unity. Okay, head back to unity. Whenever we press the a key, the movement will be -1, which we know movement will be lesser than 0. So what we are doing, firstly we are just rotating around y axis the character, and then we are setting the facing right to false, because in that case we are just facing left, so that's why we are setting facing right to false. You will able to see over here facing right. So if we hit play and if we press the a key, we will able to see that. Okay, we will able to see that. So if we press a key, okay, if we press a key, as you can see it's facing left. Okay, but when we press the d key, it's not looking to the right direction. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set this 180-degree to 0. Okay, if we set it to 0, if we set it to 0, it will look towards right direction. Okay, right direction, as you can see. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna do it update function over here. Else if, okay, else if the facing right is false, means we are just facing left. Okay, facing left. Okay, so what we're gonna do, else if we are facing left. Okay, this exclamation mark over here means it is false. You can set it to like facing right equal to false, it also mean this. Okay, now if we are looking toward face sorry, left direction. Okay, so what we're gonna do, firstly we're gonna set the y axis to 0, say so it will look in the right direction, and we're gonna set this facing right to again to true, because in that case we are looking toward right direction. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna first go over to transform dot Euler angle, sorry, transform dot Euler angles, and we're gonna set new vector 3. Vector 3, as you know, it has x, y, and the z axis. So what we're gonna do, in the y axis we're gonna put it 0, so it will look towards right direction. In the x we're gonna replace with 0, we're not gonna flip in the x and the z axis. Okay, and what we need to do, we need to set the facing right true in that case, because we are looking, we set it to normal again y axis, that mean we are facing right. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set this facing right to true. Okay, facing right to true. So control s on your keyboard. Okay, and head again to unity. You will able to see over here what we doing. Firstly we are checking if we facing right. Okay, if we facing right, then what we are doing, firstly we are going to Euler angles, and then we are setting it to 0. 0, so it will look towards facing, it will look towards right direction. Then we just setting facing right to true, and just rotating the character again to normal. We are setting y axis to 0, so it will face toward a right direction. Okay, so if we now hit play, we will able to see that change. Just wait for to compile and you will able to see. Just wait for to compile. And if we press oh, we did some mistake. So what we're gonna do over here, as we know, if we press the d key, the movement will be 1. So we need to do it over here instead of doing over here. So what we're gonna do, else if, okay, else if the movement is greater than 0 f. Basically if we press the d key, as we know, if we input dot get axis horizontal will be 1, so the movement over here will be 1, which we know movement is greater than will be 0. And if we are facing, in that case if we are facing left. Okay, so we're gonna erase this from here. So in that case, if we are facing facing left or facing right for equals to false means we are facing right, or you can do it exclamation mark in front of facing right, it also means that. So in that case, if we pressing the D key, okay, so the movement over here will be 1, as we know 1 is greater than 0. So what we, and if the, and we are just facing in the left direction, okay, we are facing, we set it to 180, that if we are facing left and we are pressing the D key, so it will go to the right, but we need to look towards right. Okay, so what we gonna do, we're gonna set this Y to 0 again, so it will look towards right, and we're gonna set the facing right to true. As you can see, we will facing the right direction, so we're gonna set it to true. So what we're gonna do, in that case, if we are pressing the D key, the movement over here will be 1, so it is greater than will be 0. And if we are not facing right, okay, we are facing left, means this means exclamation means facing right is false. So what we're gonna do, firstly we're gonna rotate at the character as normal in the right direction. So we have to go to transform, then Euler angles, okay, and we're gonna set it to new vector 3, okay, new vector 3 with 0 comma 0f comma 0f comma 0f. So it will look towards right direction. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna set the facing right, okay, to true, because in that case we will face the right condition, right direction. So we're gonna set facing right to true, okay, and control s on your keyboard and head again to unity. You will able to see we will look towards right direction, okay, whenever we press the D key. Okay, whenever we press the D key, the movement will be greater than 0. And if we are facing left, then we are then firstly we are setting the Y axis to 0, so it will look towards, so if we hit play, it will look towards right, right direction, okay. We're setting, and we are setting the facing right to true. Just wait for to compile and you will able to see that. So if I press the A key, as you can see we are facing left. So what we are doing, as you can see, facing right get unchecked, because facing right we are setting it to false. And whenever we press the D key, the movement here will be 1, okay. So it will be greater than 0, and then we are, in that case we are setting facing right to true. As you can see, we facing right checked means true. So I hope you get the idea. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna uh, add the run animation, okay. We're gonna run animation, we're gonna add the run animation. So what we need to do, so drag the animation tab, okay, over here. If you can find the animation tab, you just have to go to window in the top and go to animation, and then animation or control 6 for shortcut key, and also the animator, as you can see. So what we're gonna do, select the player, we're gonna create a new animation. So we have to create a new clip. So hit over here, as you can see, hit this and create a new clip. So what we're gonna place the animation in the animation folder. We have created the animation folder, so we're gonna go to, firstly go to assets. As you can see, we created this animation folder, so we're gonna place the animation over there. As you can see, we have created the subfolder of player animation. So we're gonna double click it, and we're gonna name this player underscore run or walk. We're gonna call it run, something like that, okay, and hit enter. Hit enter. So what we need to do, we need to drag all of the frames over here. So we need to go to sprites, and we have to find the hero knight run sprite. So as you can see, if I as you can see over here, so what we need to do, we need to drag all of the sprites, okay, select all of the sprites and drag it onto over here, okay. Now if we play, as you can see, it's pretty small, we can barely able to see the player. So what we need to make the pixel per unit less, okay. Select all of the sprites, make it less. As you can see, pixel per unit selected by 100. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna select 16, okay, 16, and filter mode to select point of filter, because this is a pixel art, okay. So select point of filter, so uh, it will like destroy the blurry, okay. And also compression, select to none, okay. Then after doing all of this, hit apply. Okay, hit apply. Now you will able to see the character. As you can see, we also have to record the animation. Over here you can see the red button. So what we need to do, hit the red button, so it will record the animation and play if it's fine. I guess it is too fast, like a little, so we're gonna move it. So select like this and move it over here and see the animation. I guess it's pretty not fine. I'm gonna move it something like, so make the animation good, so it will be like, now I guess it's fine a little. Now it's fine. And hit the this red button. Now the animation is recorded. So I'm gonna drag the tab over here in the bottom. So if we go to animation folder, we have created the player animation subfolder. As you can see, we have the player idle animation, as well the player run animation, which is loop time. As you can see in the inspector checked, means it will loop. Okay, so if we go to animator tab, as you can see, by default we playing the player idle animation. Okay, and over here we have the player run animation. You can set this default animation by right clicking on that and set as layer default. As you can see, it's became orange. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna leave it with to player idle animation in the first. So we're gonna set it as layer default. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over to, whenever we press A or D key, okay, we're gonna go to the player run state. To go to player run state, we're gonna set a certain condition. If that condition is true, if that condition get met, okay, then we will go to player run animation. In the left you will say see the parameter tab. As you can see, so what we need to do, we're gonna create, okay, we're gonna create a uh, float parameter. Okay, hit the plus icon over here, create a float parameter, and we're gonna call it something like speed. Okay, speed and speed. So what we need to do, we need to go over to player run state. So what we're gonna do, right click on the player idle animation. Okay, right click on the player idle animation and make transition to player run animation. So when we will go to run animation, so we're gonna set the condition. So click this arrow. Okay, over here, as you can see, he has exit time. Basically it means it will play the 90% of player idle animation, then it will go to player run animation. Okay, so we not gonna wait. As soon as we press the A or D key, we're gonna instantly go to player run animation. So what we gonna do, we're gonna untick this. Okay, it will go directly, and we're not gonna wait to transition duration. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna select this to 0. Okay, and we're gonna set a condition. If that condition is true, then we will go to player run animation. Okay, so over here, as you can see, condition. So what you have to do, hit the plus icon. Okay, and we're gonna set is if speed is greater than zero point 0.1. Okay, this number. Okay, if the speed is greater than zero point 0.1, so we're gonna go over to player run state. Okay, we're gonna set this speed parameter to 1. If it's 1, it will go to player run state. Now if I hit the play button. Okay, so if I hit the play button, okay, if I hit the play button, and if we set the speed parameter to 1, so as we know, speed parameter will be 1. As you know, it will be greater than zero point 0.1. So the condition are just matching, the condition are matching. So we're gonna go over to player run state. Okay, if I select the transition duration, or sorry, this arrow, if we select the this speed parameter to 1, so as we know, if we set the speed parameter to 1, it will be greater than zero point 0.1. 1 is greater than zero point 0.1, so the condition are just matching. So we will go over to player run state. Okay, if we select this one, as you can see, we are going to run state. When we setting the speed parameter to 1, we are going to run state. As we know, speed 1 is greater than speed is 1, so 1 is greater than 0.1, so the condition are just matching. So that's why we are going to player run animation. And we also need to go back to player idle animation. Okay, we're gonna choose a condition to go back to player idle animation. So what we have to do, right click on the player run state, okay, and make transition to player run animation, okay, and make transition to player idle animation. So we're gonna choose the arrow. We need to set a condition in the, if the condition are just matching, we're gonna go to player idle animation. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna uncheck this has exit time. As we know, it will play the 90% of player animation run animation, and then it will go to player idle animation. But we don't want to wait that. As soon as we're not pressing anything, A or D key, we're gonna go over to player idle animation. So what we have to do, we have to untick this, okay, untick this, and transition duration we're gonna set it to 0. As soon as we not pressing anything like that, the movement will be 0. So we're gonna say, we're gonna go over to idle animation instantly. So we're gonna set it to 0, and we're gonna choose a condition. In that condition are matching, we're gonna go over to player idle animation. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna choose this speed. So we have to select this, hit the plus icon. We're gonna, what we're gonna do, we're gonna select the less, okay, we're gonna set to 0.1. Okay, so what we are doing, whenever we set the speed parameter 0, we will go over to player idle animation. As we know, if the speed is 0, it will be lesser than 0.1. As we know, the 0 is lesser than 0.1, so the condition are matching, okay, the matching, the condition are becoming true. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over to player idle animation. As you can see, we are just making transition to player idle animation. I hope you get the idea. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna control this speed parameter via our code, through our code, okay. Now if we play the game, and if we and if we play the game, if we set this parameter, okay, we're gonna set this parameter. Just wait for to compile and you will able to see. So whenever the speed is 0, okay, it will play the idle animation. As we know, speed is 0 means it will be lesser than 0.1 f. 0 is lesser than 0.1 f, so that's why the player idle animation is playing. Now if we set this speed parameter to 1 or zero point 0.2, it will be greater than 0.1. We speed, if we select speed parameter to 1, as we know, it will be greater than 0.1, so it will go over to player run animation. Let's say if we set this to 1, sorry, 1, as you can see, we are playing the run animation of player. But if we set it to 0, as you can see, it will go over to player idle animation. So we need to control this speed parameter via our code. If we go over to player, okay, if we go over to player, as you can see, we have an animator component. This component is responsible for animating, so we need this component, okay. By this component, we're gonna access this as speed parameter, and we're gonna set it to 0 or 1. If we pressing something, we're gonna set it to 1, and if we pressing nothing like that, we're gonna set speed parameter to 0. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to open up the player script, okay. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna create an empty field of animator, okay. We're gonna create an empty field of animator, then we're gonna drag this animator to that field, so we will have this link or reference of this animator, then we can tweak this speed parameter. So what we have to do, we're gonna go over to top, we're gonna make it public so we can see in the inspector, okay. So we're gonna make it public. We will, the type of the component will be animator, okay, animator, and you have to name it something like animator, anim, something like that. I'm gonna call it animator. So control s on your keyboard and head again to unity, okay. You will able to see an empty field of animator will appear. So what we need to do, we need to drag this animator to that field, so we will have the link of this animator, then we can tweak this speed parameter via our code, okay. So just wait for to compile and you will able to see an empty field of animator. We just need to drag the animator component to that field, then we will have the link. So as you can see, we have an animator which says none, so this is empty. So what we need to do, we need to drag the animator field into that slot. Now we have the player animator. Now we can tweak the speed parameter. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna check over here movement. Okay, whenever we press the D key, input dot get axis horizontal becomes 1, so the movement over here will be 1. Whenever we press the A key, this will be -1, so the movement over here will be -1. If we press nothing like that, so this will be 0, so the movement over here will be 0. So we're gonna take this movement and we're gonna do it. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna check. Okay, we're gonna check if movement. So as we know, when we pressing a key, so a key, as we know, when we press the A key, it will go to the movement will be -1, as we know. So it will play the ideal animation. As we know, the -1 is lesser than 0.1, so the condition are meeting. So it will play the ideal animation, but we are pressing the A key, we should go over to play a run animation whenever we press something like that. Okay, we should play the run animation, but it won't play the run animation, it will play the ideal animation, because movement will be -1, and -1 is lesser than 0.1. So what we have to do, we have to use mathf.f function. Okay, that function convert a negative value to positive value. So we have to use this mathf.f. Okay, mathf.f, and we're gonna pass the movement. So let's movement, and we're gonna set if it's greater than 0.1. Okay, if it's greater than 0.1, so what we are doing, firstly we are using this mathf.f function. Let's suppose we press the A key, so the input dot get axis horizontal over here will be -1, so the movement over here will be -1, which we know -1. So mathf.f over here convert -1 to +1. Okay, and 1, as we know, 1 is greater than 0.1. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over to animator, and we're gonna set this speed parameter to 1. Okay, so what we need to do, we're firstly gonna to animator component dot, we have to set the float, and you have to type the same name as speed as in seen in the animator, and we're gonna set it to 1f. As we know, when we set the speed parameter to 1f, so it will be greater than 0.1. So it will go to player run animation. Okay, it will play the run animation. Okay, so I hope you get the idea. In the next video, we will cover up the second thing. So control S on your keyboard and head back to Unity. So just wait for to compile. So over here, as you can see, we so if so we are taking the movement over here -1 will be 1. As we know, it will be, we're gonna setting the condition 1 is greater than 0.1. So we are just going to animator, then setting that speed parameter to 1. If we set it to 1, so it will go to run animation. Okay, because if we select this arrow, as you can see, 1 will be greater than 0.1, so it will go over to player run animation. Okay, it will go over to player run animation, and we also need to go back to player idle animation. Okay, so just wait for to compile, I will explain. Okay, so as you can see, we also need to go to idle animation when we press nothing like that. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna check. Okay, we're gonna check if, okay, else if we have to use this function mathf dot apps. Okay, this means absolute, and we're gonna pass the movement. Okay, movement, and we're gonna check if it's lesser than 0.1f. Okay, so what we are doing, we are checking if the movement is lesser than 0.1f. As we know, when we press nothing like that, input dot get axis horizontal over here will be 0, so the movement will be over here 0. As we know, 0 plus 0, it will convert to plus 0 means 0, so it will be lesser than 0.1f. As we know, 0 will be lesser than 0.1f. So what we going to do, we're gonna go to animator. Okay, animator component once again, and we're gonna set the float. Okay, the float is speed, as we know, is speed, and we're gonna set it to 0f. So as we know, if we set it to 0f, if we head again to Unity, if we set it to 0f, so the speed parameter will be lesser than 0.1, because we are setting speed parameter to 0, so 0 is lesser than 0.1, so it will go over to idle animation. Okay, it will play the idle animation. Okay, so just wait for to compile and you will able to see that. So if we hit play, okay, if we hit play, we will able to see that change. Okay, when we press nothing, the movement will be 0. In that case, we are setting the speed parameter to 0. If it's 0, it will go over to player idle animation. As you can see, 0 is lesser than 0.1 f. So when we press nothing, as you can see, I hope you get the idea. Okay, lastly, thanks for watching.